I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
I knew it. I love when he does that.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Adrenaline in my soul, something, something, Cody Rhodes. Let it out again. I'm the tribal chief around here. Yeah, you see me, the tribal chief. That's right.
Time. But let me go ahead and tell you.
Shut your bitch ass up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 447 of the Hoots Podcast. Hope each and every single one of you are doing good today. I am coming back from the mend. I'm sorry for missing last week's episode. Your boy's been kind of down this past week with a weird cold. I pride myself on having a good immune system, and it just caught me. I can't even pinpoint it exactly what it was. It could be a flu thing. It wasn't COVID. I'm pretty sure that. But it was just like a bad congested cold, a lot of running nose and like stuff like that. And yeah, I'm sorry that I missed last week's episode, but in light of that, we'll be dropping 2 episodes this week just for you guys so you can stay on track as we're on the road to episode 450, which will be dropping on January 31st at the end of the month. So you're going to get an episode today as I'm recording this on Thursday, and then you'll get another episode tomorrow ahead of SmackDown. So I appreciate all of you for the support for this podcast and the love that you've given this show over the years. And I think this episode's going to be very interesting because as many of you guys know, I'm on my way out for the talking side of the wrestling media landscape. Once we get to episode 500, I'm putting an end to this podcast, and I really don't know what my future holds when it comes to the talking side of the wrestling media content creation game. I don't know where my place stands. Like I have to reevaluate some things. But as I'm on my way out, I'm seeing a lot of like drama, a lot of discussions about this side of the content creation game against the other side of the content creation game. Some people are mad at streamers getting spotlighted on wrestling television shows. We have this drama going on with Mr. Tesh, who I'm not that familiar with. I've always said this, man, like, in a way, you gotta know what you're signing up for. I've been in this field since 2013, so this is going to be 12 years of being a broadcaster and 12 years of being in the wrestling content space. I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen a lot of changes, but unfortunately, just from my observation from the years of doing this, there's just always been this cloud of people that need to, like, clout chase and carry themselves in a manner as if their shit don't stink, unfortunately, because they get a little bit of buzz, or they're good with their graphic designs, and they got their cute little improv thumbnails and stuff like that. And, like, I will never come out here and be like, oh, I should be having more success than this person or that person or anything like that. I'm happy for the people that are successful in this field. I'm happy for the people who grind and, bust their ass when it comes to whatever spectrum of the wrestling content space you find yourself in. I'm happy for the people who are giving this a chance, a shot for the first time in their life to do something that they want and to discuss about a form of entertainment that they love and appreciate. At the end of the day, I will never come here and be like, oh, I'm mad because this person's doing better than me. I do find myself in positions where over the years I felt like I've had to be like kind of like a wrestling auditor, where like I don't like calling out people, but I will call out fakeness and clout chasing when I see it, and far too much of that going on right now, in my opinion, amongst every aspect of the wrestling media game. You have a lot of great talented people who write. You got talented people who do analyst work. You got talented people who do live stream reactions, like the guys from In the Clutch. Shout out to Ross Dub. You got Wheezy. You got Con Man. You got, the list goes on and on. The great people. And more times than not, I've noticed that the more successful people now these days are good, genuine people. That really wasn't the case back then when I first got into this field. So I think that's been something that's been a positive change along the way. I have never been personally affected or bothered or like frustrated on my place amongst this field based on, a live stream reactor got spotlighted on Raw or SmackDown. Raw or SmackDown. That never bothered me. I don't know why that would bother people. You should be happy for the fact that WWE would take the time to acknowledge these type of content creators, because more times than not, and I'm not pointing out certain people, but more times than not, when you find content creation amongst the IWC, at least 95% of it is littered with negative takes, snarky analyzation of the product. Everything's a joke to them, and all right, that's your bag because negativity sells, right? So again, I'm never perturbed or, this should have been me. This should have been me. I feel like I've earned my place amongst this field. I take a lot of pride with what I've done with my articles, obviously. I think my track record and my work with those articles speak for themselves. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished with this podcast for what we've been doing since 2016. And now we're about to enter our 9th year. And, we're just a couple episodes away from episode 450. There's been a lot of changes over the years with this podcast. And one thing I want to come out here and talk about, since I'm on my way out of this field when it comes to the talking side of wrestling, I just want to take a chance to reflect on my journey here. And, if I could give advice to anybody who's considering doing this type of work, doing a podcast, becoming a broadcaster, if you can take something positive from this episode this week, is that understand why you're doing this in the first place, and understand that if it's not doing something to benefit the entire business and the fans within this business, you're wasting everybody's time. As I'm on my way out of this content creation space, I need to take a step back and ask myself, I'm pretty sure I've made mistakes. I've opened up to the fact that I've matured a lot in front of you guys and girls. Since we started doing this podcast back in 2016, I was 22 years old at the time. And here I am, I'm 30 years old, I'm about to turn 31 in May. And there's been a lot of maturing on my end that's happened here. I don't feel like I'm on edge as much as I used to be. I'm not as, I remember there'd be times where I would get ready for a show and then I see some stupid tweet and it would piss me off. Especially the times when I was doing the shows with Adam Daly where I would see something stupid and I would feel the need to go off on it. And I think to a point it started becoming a little bit of a bit, and I'm not proud of it, to be honest with you. I felt in a way I I really have an issue with people who act like their shit don't stink, and you're doing things outwardly to, make the wrestling fan base look bad. Like, I feel like in a way I have to stand up and defend it against that type of shit. And like, I would see a stupid tweet, and I'm like, it would affect my mood, and it would I feel like the need to get it off my chest. And I used to do that a lot, especially the early stages of the podcast. The whole stuff with what the hell's wrong with AEW, that was starting to become a bit. And I humbly speaking, I can appreciate the fact that sometimes when I'll go on a rant where I need to get something off my chest, it can be entertaining and I can make people laugh as I'm going off, because I guess in a way I don't want to be I don't want to be the guy that comes out here and it's popping a blood vessel over wrestling, basically. You know what I mean? We all have our passions and we all get fired up about certain things, and it just even got to the point with AEW, I had to make the mature decision to stop doing the segment, because I didn't want to start becoming a reason for people to take a step back for the podcast, because it was Joshie hates everything AEW. He's not a real wrestling fan. I don't hate everything AEW. I covered the brand. I went to multiple shows. I wanted it to succeed just as much as anybody else. But I did not enjoy the product. I still don't enjoy the product, and I just felt it was more productive to make my message clear and stop talking about it than just feeling the need and the obligation to continue on with a bit that was starting to get a little bit old. And I really have matured a lot. I would say that I'm perfect at this or anything like that. I've made my mistakes. Maybe I've gone maybe a little bit overboard when it comes to making jokes about waterfall and stuff like that. The stuff I used to do on the Pipe Bomb with McCool Company when it comes to talking about waterfalls and stuff like that with women. I'm not overly proud of that, but I've always said that more in a joking manner than anything serious. I've made mistakes, but I've grown up. You're a young male, you're single, you don't have any kids, you're not attached to anybody. You say stupid shit at times. I'm not proud of it. But, I'm also not going to sit here and be embarrassed. I'll embrace the fact that I like women. It is what it is. But there's definitely a line that you have to, monitor. And I always try to make sure that I wouldn't go overboard. Or I definitely, for me as a man, outside of all this stuff, I've always had, the respect of women on a top priority list for me, because I know there's a lot of things in life that we have no tolerance for, but for me, one of the main things in my life that I don't have tolerance for is ultimate disrespect towards women, or sack of shit to put their hands on women because they don't know how to handle conflict with their partners. The whole domestic violence stuff. I have no respect for it. The whole stuff with Mr. Tesh and all the stuff for the cancel culture stuff a few years ago that went on. I have no respect for that. I don't like seeing that stuff. I'd have no tolerance for it. It shouldn't happen. Women should not be put in that position. That's just not the man that I am or the man that I was raised to be, So, I'll joke about a woman being sexy, but that's as far as I'll ever go about it. I'm not going to go overboard and make a woman uncomfortable or put them against their own will while, that's just not who I am. Let me take a swig of water real quick. All right, that felt good. So, as I'm on my way out, like, I've just been having a lot of time to reflect on my journey here. Like, I've always wanted to do something productive when it comes to this type of show, and just like, it got to a point where me and Adam would do a show, and it'd be in a way where we give out our analyzation of the product on one end, and then we'll also like carve out time to talk about other things, non-wrestling related, and also like we can make a lot of people laugh. I'm very proud of that fact that we can come out here, shoot the shit. Like, I know sometimes I have a loose tongue and I have no filter and I say some crazy shit sometimes. And it makes people laugh. But one thing that's very true at the end of the day is that I'm always going to remain myself. And I wanted to do something productive in this space. I wanted to provide an outlet for people to have some uncomfortable conversations when it comes to like real life things, and we can crack jokes. We can make it an atmosphere as if I'm sitting next to you, and we're just shooting shit about life or wrestling. And that really, at the end of the day, I think that's one of the main things I'm proud of when it comes to this podcast and my time doing wrestling content creation from an audio point of view, is that, look, we all have opinions. At the end of the day, probably 99.9% of us who do shows like this or live stream reactions or anything like that don't really know what the fuck's going on behind the scenes with these wrestling companies at the end of the day. I mean, we can be honest with each other with that. We have our opinions. We're fans. I've been covering the industry for a living for over 10 years, but I'm never going to come out here and be like, I know more than you. I know more about WWE than you do. Like, I don't get this ego boost of, like, predicting, oh, see, I told you that was going to happen. I told you that was going to happen. I told you that was going to happen. Like, I don't get a dopamine rush off of that type of stuff. I never have. That's not the type of wrestling fan I am. That's not the type of analyst that I am. And that's not even the type of person that I am. Like, the I told you guy is so fucking annoying. It really is. Like, yeah, I'm if you've asked me compared to other people who's more in tune with the product that covers it on a day-to-day basis, I'd probably put myself up there with the best. And that's not to be cocky. Like, I have confidence in myself, and I know the work ethic that I put into this craft and this industry. But like, when it comes to like getting booking decisions right or pointing out angles they're going to go in this direction before anybody else knows, is that like that hasn't been the only driving thing for me. Like, I come out here, I try to preach out positivity. I'll mention some things here and there that I don't like about the product, but it's never going to be something like, here, let me put out a title to clickbait you and be like, hey, this shit sucks. That sucks. Everything sucks. You know, we did the comedy bit with what the hell's wrong with AEW, but again, that was for comedy purposes. I wasn't that mad when we would do the segments. So I wanted to do something productive and something useful because, like, I just felt that there's this, like, a redundancy amongst the space when it came to shows like this. And it just got very, very stale and very repetitive. Regarding stuff with Weezy Blonde and Mr. Tesh stuff that's been going on the past couple days, all I can say is that I'm happy for her to stand her ground and, you know, like, not put a blind eye to it. If it's something serious like that should be called out for, it should be called out for. Any guy that tries to make aisle threats or, you know, does something weird or stuff like that should be called out for, and I'm sorry that she had to deal with that, or anybody else within amongst this content creation space that had to deal with stuff for him. I don't know him. I never talked to the guy. I don't know anything about him. So, I'm only going by the facts that are put out there, and that's all I can say on it from my point of view. It's a shame that she had to deal with that, but from my point of view, like, you know, when these need to be called out, they should be called out. So, very happy for Lex to do that for herself and, you know, not tolerate that type of shit because it shouldn't be tolerated. So, good for Weezy for standing her ground and, you know, calling out the guy when it needs to be called out for. Like, that's really all I can add on to it. You know, that's pretty much it on that end. But again, as I look back through my journey of doing audio stuff for wrestling over the years, I feel like in a lot of ways it's helped me out from a mental health point of view. It's helped me out in a lot of ways from a spiritual point of view. Like, I've really allowed this podcast to be kind of a mental and emotional release for me at many times over the years. And there's definitely times where I got vulnerable on here. There's been times that I've cried. There's times when we've had like real serious and deep conversations on this podcast, and I'm proud of each one of those moments because I allowed myself to be released in every sense of the word, and that I come here and speak from the heart, and I really don't care about the judgment on the other side. That's kind of one of the points of this podcast is that, like, express what you love about the business and stop letting other people's opinions dictate how you feel about yourself or wrestling in general. I've always preached this since day one that you should not let somebody else dictate your enjoyment for professional wrestling. Just because I don't like AEW doesn't mean you don't have to like AEW. Just because I have a different opinion from yours doesn't mean that your wrestling opinion is better than mine, you know? Just because, like, there's dirt sheet writers out there doesn't mean that their perspective on the industry is better because they have quote-unquote sources. So, you know, like, the best advice that I can always give out to people who are considering doing this is, like I said earlier, like, understand why you're doing it, and it should be done from a positive point of view. And, you know, like, you gotta appreciate the grind. You gotta enjoy the shitty days where you're not getting as many clicks or followers as you thought you're gonna be. And you gotta take each opportunity to, you know, like, try your best to look at the industry from a bigger picture point of view than being like, okay, let me just live and die and let my mood and energy dictate how my show is presented based on how that week of wrestling was. You know, like, I'll never be that wrestling fan that lives and dies on every episode of Raw and SmackDown. But it's counterproductive. It's a waste of time, honestly, and wasted energy. And there's nothing productive that comes out of it. You're just coming out here to rant at this point. And that's not how you should go about this, honestly. So, you know, I really wanted to do this episode for a while, especially since we're getting closer to episode 450. It's a shame that it's under these type of circumstances that I had to do this type of show, and the timing of it with all this drama going on out there with Mr. Tesk and stuff. But in light of that, I just wanted to come out here and be like, just let you guys know, just like, I have no regrets when it comes to this field. I have no regrets for the journey that I take on during this experience. Everything has been a learning experience for me and an opportunity to grow as a man. And I'm very proud of myself for what I've grown to become over these past 8 to 9 years of doing this show. And it's made me a better writer. It's gave me a better appreciation for the product as a whole. I am very proud of the fact that I've been able to do this type of work for as long as I've have, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. And yeah, I would love to do more talk work. I would love to do more collaborations amongst the field, especially here on YouTube and stuff. I would love those opportunities, but at the end of the day, I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish with this podcast, and really, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you, each and every single one of you, whoever taken the time to listen to one episode of this podcast, whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say about the industry. I appreciate any of you that have given this show a chance over the last 8 to 9 years. So, honestly, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, I just wanted to come on here and give you a little shorter episode this week and kind of give you my thoughts on everything that's going on about this whole IWC drama stuff, and just kind of get you, give you some advice as I'm on my way out of the wrestling content space. So, we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming tomorrow with another edition of the Hoots Podcast. But in the meantime, please do me a favor, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. That's on the road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Make sure to follow and stream the podcast on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast from. So please go get that on. Go do that right now on Spotify. That's really the best way to expand the reach of the show is following the show on Spotify, and that's the best way to help me get closer to potentially earning some money for the podcast as well. But remember, folks, it's always be the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. I love you guys. This has been episode 447 of the Hoots Podcast. Episode 448 will drop tomorrow. And we'll get you getting ready for the Royal Rumble. So, lots to talk about. I appreciate the love, everybody. Have a wonderful Thursday. And we'll talk to y'all tomorrow right here on the Hoots Podcast. Yeet.
Bye-bye, bitch.